While I wanted to talk more about Rumeria and Remus, ultimately, it's Sunday. I'm just vibing, chilling, as a matter of fact. So there is something we should discuss, and it's the duel between the Traveler and Arlecchino. Just because, look, Natlan is the next stop on our journey, and it looks to be the most physically demanding nation thus far. It's the land of war that's seen conflict for over 1,000 years, ruled over by the goddess of war, who Venti described as either a tyrannical berserker or a fighting maniac. I mean, hell, part of the Natlan crumbs we got this patch mentioned it seems like the people of Natlan are forged for battle from birth. I mean, so yeah, these niggas like just came out the womb just ready to scrap, man. In addition to the warrior culture they've seemingly cultivated over there, the rank 1 harbinger, Capitano, is also headed to Natlan, probably to pit his mettle against their might. And if you believe the fatui clock theory, then Columbina is also headed to Natlan. That would mean at least 3 people with power rivaling the gods, or, just a god, would be in Natlan. And thus, we circle back to the Traveler, someone who very recently had a soft cap placed on their power level against the rank 4 harbinger Arlecchino. And I'm seeing a bunch of different things with regards to people's thoughts on this fight. Some are annoyed that the Traveler genuinely lost the fight, which is, that's fine, I suppose. Some are annoyed at the manner in which the Traveler, lost, just sat there shaking like a little bitch, which again is understandable. And finally, there's this other group of people who are annoyed at the fact that the Traveler, despite perhaps being the most elements-compatible entity on Tevat, never uses his elements. And now I fall squarely into the latter group. That's not to say the other two opinions don't have any merits behind them. Here's how I look at it, if anyone cares. I don't mind the Traveler losing. I really don't. I think there's this misconception going on regarding the Traveler's power level, given their title of Descender, when so far as we know, there's no set power requirement one needs to be known as one who descends. As it stands right now, it seems the key requirements, aside from not belonging to Tevat, is having a will that rivals the world's. I think the underlying problem here is people look at the other Descenders, who are quite possibly the strongest beings in Tevat mythos, and assume the Traveler too must equally be around that same power level, when it was already established from the get-go. The twins aren't exactly known for their fighting prowess, being put down in about 20 seconds flat by our beloved sustainer of heavenly principles, despite the fact that they both had their original power and swords. Now, this isn't to say there's no special power involved with Descenders, just because, as we know, the sustainer sealed the Traveler's powers before sending his ass to the Shadow Realm. It's just, even after traveling a bit and collecting some of the elements, the Traveler's resume against Tevat is very, how do I say, lacking. Nigga couldn't get a fucking job at McDonald's with this shit. I made a video a while back in early December that basically gave a rundown of the Traveler's fights in Tevat thus far, and if you're interested, I do think you should watch it, just because it should help dispel the myth that the Traveler's is fucking Pope. But in order to beat the Traveler's simp allegations that have recently been levied against me, I'm gonna play some of the highlights here. Fighting gods, I've got a resume, whilst holding his sword up, preparing for battle. Yeah, you got a resume, sure, but in the same sense that this nigga has a resume. Guys, anyway, that puts this sorry motherfucker's record at 2-170. I mean, he's not a bitch, but, he's not on their level. I mean, guys, we all know who the other two are. The Dragon King Nibelung, King of the Sovereigns, and the Primordial One, a progenitor god hailing from beyond the stars. And I mean, there's just some little nigga named Ether. I mean, he aight, but it's like, come on, man. With all that said, how strong is the Traveler lore-wise in comparison with the rest of Tevat? I mean, he aight. I think we'll firmly grasp his position if we ever end up fighting Arlecchino, seeing as aside from the gods, she should by far and away be the strongest person we've fought. But right now, I'd say he's upper, lower quadrant. Yeah, so I think the Arlecchino fight very roughly answers my final question in that video, just because as we saw, the Traveler isn't close. Not really on the same level. The problem we are now presented with engaging their power following the fight, however, is that we don't know how strong Arlecchino is in relation to the other harbingers, or just anyone else, specifically the top 3. We know she must be far and away stronger than the likes of the rank 11 Childe and rank 8 Signora, just because they are some of the rare instances in which they lost to the Traveler's strength alone. Yet, despite this, the Traveler was still no match for the rank 4. However, on the flip, we don't know how big a gap exists between Arlecchino and the top 3, who are said to have power rivaling the gods. It could be, Arlecchino is on the cusp of greatness and just one step away from attaining that power, or it could be the top 3 are in a league of their own, and that the gap that exists between her and them is on some fucking Mariana Trench shits. We just don't know right now. And now, with regards to the Traveler just sat in their fucking boots, just quaking. Look, although it's a bit hard to see, the Traveler is tied down by what I guess is supposed to be Arlecchino's spider webs or some shits, and that's why they can't move. Now, with that said, however, there is fear in their eyes, and that is genuine. This is not a trick of the webby kind. They thought Arlecchino was going to ka-ching their ass, and they'd go nights. Now, with that said, I don't mind this either. While yes, the Traveler, has come face to face with being stronger than Arlecchino, or more intimidating, I should say. For instance, Osile. His presence was said to be so terrifying, people with visions couldn't even stand. I just think the game has made it a point to bill Arlecchino as something different, as a truly uncaring and unfeeling monster to whom empathy is a foreign concept. She's someone who has no problem lying, manipulating, and intimidating to get a job done. And it's not that she doesn't understand people's emotions. She understands them perfectly, and she'll play on them and exploit them like she did with Farina. It's just that she either can't or won't relate to them. And now the scary thing is, we don't know if this is an act or she's simply a broken individual. Not even Nervalette can discern the truth.
I believe I've told you before that my emotions easily resonate with those of others. Yet in the few meetings I've had with that harbinger, I haven't been able to sense any aspect of her emotional state. Her mind is like a still body of water. Who knows what darkness lies in its depths, and the lack of ripples on the surface gives nothing away. It's unclear whether this is her natural state of being, or whether it's an incredible strength of will that gives her the ability to master her emotions. Either scenario, however, suggests she is a very dangerous individual. I do not expect an explanation as to why you two are by her side. Whatever your reasoning, I would only advise you to take caution.
She described herself as cold-blooded, so it's in this very moment the Traveler recalled all that shit, and for a moment thought they too were gonna get fucking hoo-hawed by Arlecchino. So I can forgive this nigga's gonna kill me. What I can't forgive, however, what I cannot forgive, is the Traveler using their powers not once during the duel. I mean, nigga, what is even the point of going, well, I want to see how strong the 4th really is, if you don't even do what's most unique to you, which is using your elements without a vision. Only the gods can do that. And a smattering of abyssal creatures being able to use multiple elements. Only the harbingers can do that due to their delusions and Kazaha for 3 seconds. However, being able to use multiple elements without the aid of that device, just the Traveler, the most elements compatible entity on Teyvat, a symptom of not belonging to this world.
Ooh, did you just feel the elements of the world? Seems all you had to do was just touch the statue and you got the power of Animo. As much as they may want it, people in this world can never get a hold of powers as easily as you. It's because you're not from this world to begin with.
Hell, part of the importance of our journey is collecting the elements. It's supposed to be making us stronger. Yet despite this, I can hardly even recall the moments the Traveler uses their elements, much less dual wields them. The only times this has happened was in our fight against Childe, where the Traveler used both Animo and Geo. And the second time was in Navia's Story Quest, where we see the Traveler swap from Hydro to Geo on the fly. But outside these two examples, nada. And it's weird because it really does feel like now would have been the perfect time to showcase all that we've done, how far the Traveler has come. They are 5 elements deep headed into Natlan. And in what should have been a show of strength versus the 4th ranked Harbinger, we decide to utilize none of the elements, and instead just decide to go physical with a dull sword. Imagine, instead of whatever the fuck we got, this nigga just traps her with Geo, and then throws her into the air with Animo, and then just fucking finger blasts her with Hydro, and I don't know what the other elements do. They're just trying to unga bunga Arlecchino here, who's I still can't believe this, using her elements, man, it's so backwards. So that to me is the biggest question mark surrounding the duel, but I will admit, I did like some of the implications of it moving forward as it pertains to Natlan and Capitano. The first and most important being, Hoyo are willing to have the Traveler just straight up lose and not cheese their way to victory in every conflict, with the added bonus of Arlecchino stating that while the Traveler is stronger than she expected, they still aren't strong enough to beat her. So we aren't fucking playing around in this department, which is, I like that, that's nice. Now, given we are going to Natlan, where the most physical god resides, and Capitano is also headed there, we, as it stands right now, would be no match for either of them. However, there's also the possibility that if Capitano is going to Natlan, as stated earlier, Columbina could also wind up there somehow if you believe the fatui clock theory. That could actually foreshadow the fact that we fight her before we even fight Capitano. That would make it at least 3 people with godlike strength in Natlan, 2 of which we have a greater than not chance of fighting. But again, given the fight we just had with the rank 4, trying to match the rank 3 or even worse rank 1 is a pipe dream, and thus we're doomed. But it feels like Hoyo's doing this on purpose. It has to be. We know given they told us for a fact Capitano is going to Natlan, and the fact that we just lost to the rank 4, they're setting some shit up here. They have to be. Or, and oh god forbid, knock on wood 3 times. Spell. Capitano's the rank 10. No, that's impossible. That's impossible. I can picture a couple of different scenarios unfolding here. The first and most obvious being the Traveler gets a significant power boost somehow. Given the warrior culture is ingrained in Natlan culture, I mean hell, Venti told us warriors used to hold rites of combat in Murata's name, there's a good chance we get some sort of, fucking tournament arc that results in a net positive for the Traveler's strength. Or, and if you niggas ever saw The Dark Knight Rises, we could, fight Capitano, we get our fucking asses handed to us, we go into that little fucking pit, and then we get, stronger that way, and then we come back and we revive the Pyro Archon who died in the battle between her and Capitano, and then we fight him again, and we win. Another possibility, however, is Capitano helps us himself. There's something odd about Capitano in the way he's been described by the other Fatus. It's almost unilaterally positive. They describe him as a man with not just great power, but one worthy of it, indicating great honor and respect. As we've seen in his encounter with Varka, the captain is not one to fight at a moment's notice, and even better, Varka admitted Capitano helped them in some way.
I will admit that some of his actions have helped us, but even then, he owed us at least that much.
Capitano seems the type to only fight if he must. He isn't like Childe, just willy-nilly looking at it for every chance he gets. Capitano is the harbinger all the lower-ranking Fatui soldiers want to work under, further indicating his good nature, compared to, some fucking shit like Scaramouche. So while I don't believe Capitano will hesitate to fight us should we stand in his way, I am more so interested to see if we do end up fighting him, if it's a fight to hinder us or help us. Now, as for Columbina, hey, Blue's Clues, we don't know shit about her, but if she is going to Natlan and the Fatui wheel is correct, it would indicate we're fighting her before we fight Capitano. Now, as to what role her fights could play, it could be this. This is pure speculation on my part. This is just me thinking out loud. It's Sunday. It could be we fight her, either willingly or by force. She gives us a significant amount of her power, and we go do some shit with that. She seems like, I don't know, she just seems like the most aloof harbinger. It's the only reason I say that. God forbid she winds up dead as a result of that. In any case, as it stands right now, are we doomed headed into Natlan? Yes, very much so. If Capitano, Columbina, and the Pyro Archon all don't like us, we're doomed. If the Pyro Archon likes us but Capitano doesn't, we're doomed. If everyone likes us and we don't, we're doomed. Okay, even if it's a 2v1 between the Pyro Archon and us versus Capitano, I suspect the Pyro Archon should be the strongest person in Natlan, given they are at the end of the day a god, whilst Capitano is allegedly just an ordinary mortal. If those two fights were so far out of their league, it wouldn't even matter. So yeah, as it stands right now, we're doomed.